Hello, good afternoon, and as you can see, I'm joined by Gina-B from Gina-B Silkworks.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, how are you?
I am good, thank you.
Good.
Now, as we were saying earlier, we kind of get new viewers all the time.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Well, my background is actually in graphic design and illustration.
Oh.
Yeah, not a lot of people know that. But then I was illustrating historical book covers.
Right.
So I had to find out about the costume. And then I started to become obsessed by the costume, which then led to becoming obsessed by the trimmings, passementerie. And so that's sort of where I am now. Any sort of handwork, textile trimmings, and buttons.
Buttons, yes, today is all about the buttons. So we've got our first button kit here. It's kind of like a journal kit, isn't it?
It is, yes. These are our little button journal kits. They were devised because anybody who comes to any of my workshops, obviously they're usually their first time making buttons, and they want to keep them, you know, and sometimes they frame them and so on. And so these have a fabric journal that's printed up that you sort of fold and cleverly cut, and so you can keep your first buttons, because our little button journal kits are about techniques. So once you've learnt the techniques, you can then take that and carry on. So you want like a sampler, just as you would with an embroidery sampler.
And that's what this is, lovely.
That's right. And so today's new kit is needle pattern, or pattern darning, or many other names depending on whereabouts in the world that you are. But basically it's using a running stitch to go back and forth on the fabric to make a pattern. And
so you say, is there an example in there?
Yeah, so all of these are needle pattern examples. So you've got 6 patterns that are included.
Right.
Then you've got 3 different colors of thread. You've got the even weave Ada fabric, which is an 18 count, so that you get something small enough to really put on a button. You don't want the even weave that's too large. And it takes you through how to do it and how to cover the button molds that are also included, so that you can then test out this technique and see if this is the button technique that is for you.
Oh, lovely. Does it give you the instructions on all of this?
All of the button kits give you the instructions on the technique, give you the patterns that are included in it, so that you can really sort of get going. The nice thing about buttons, you see, is that they are a little work of art. So you've created your one little work of art, you can put it down, you know, it's not this massive project that's daunting in your head. It's a lovely little button.
Well, it's one of those lovely, I often go on about this a lot because of all my travelling. It's one of those things.
This is definitely, this one in particular, the needle pattern one, is particularly good for traveling because you need to take so little with you. Some of the others you have to actually control the threads that you're taking or something, whereas this one you've cut a length of thread and you're just literally sewing back and forth. It's very relaxing.
Nice. And just very quickly, the actual fabric itself, it's
all printed. It's 100% cotton. It's all printed up. We design them. You have little snippets of text that's relevant. In the needle pattern one, we've got things that quotes from poetry that have to do with needles. And each one is relevant to the button. So you might have a little part of the instruction to that technique in the journal. So we try to put a little thing and a little drawing. You've also got a lines chart, and lines are the unit of measurement of buttons. Buttons are not measured technically.
That's messing with my head.
Yeah, they are actually technically measured in lines. So if you look at old cards, when you see old cards of buttons, you'll sometimes see 32 lines, and nobody really knows what that means, and they think it's 32 ranges or something. It isn't, it's the size.
Interesting. We're going to hear a lot of lovely history in this hour. Now, we're already approaching 20% of the stock of this lovely journal kit gone. It's only $14.99, a really reasonable price for a really nice hobby.
Yes, yeah, it's a nice hobby. It's also, as I say, it's teaching you a new technique. Yeah. So you can go ahead and say, well, you know, I really like that particular design. I'm going to do some of those for the next cardigan that I knit, or whatever. Yeah. A lot of people tend to do decorative buttons these days on decorative quilts as well, as accents. I mean, think of how many different kits every day that you have that either requires a button or includes a button, and you can make a unique button.
Lovely.
Okay.
All right, so that's 313445. That's your item number. Next then, right, so this is a button sundries kit.
Yes, because obviously we've been bringing the journal kits and other button making kits for a little while. I thought it might be nice for some of our viewers to be able to top up some of their supplies.
Great.
Okay, so in this you're getting the flat disc button molds, which are something that we use in the needle pattern kit, but we also use them in the Macclesfield and Leek kit.
Right.
You're getting some brass rings, which you can use in the Dorset or the Zorn-Knopf kits. Likewise, some aluminum rings, aluminium, depending on which side of the ocean that you are from.
Yep.
Rings that we include in the Zorn-Knopf kit, but you can also use them for Dorset techniques.
Sure.
You've also got some button pins. Now, the button pin, I don't know if I can sort of show
Welcome
this.
to you. Yeah.
All right. It's a safety pin without the circle at the end,
Yeah.
so it can pass all of the way through your fabric, and a little loop, and that little loop is where your button sits.
Oh.
So you can change your button.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Okay, because obviously if you're using a wooden mold, or if you're using fancy silk threads, you're not going to throw that button in the washing machine.
No.
It will be destroyed.
Yeah.
So this is just one way to use to make a changeable button or a removable button.
See, that's clever. I like that.
You've
Still
also got
threads.
5 skeins of thread.
Yep.
And you've got some heavy-duty interfacing, which actually in my demo I'm going to show you one possible use for them, but you can also stack them up to make button molds or backings.
Lovely. And here we've got just a few samples
Just
of what
examples.
you can do.
The thing is you can sort of, I mean, I've got a great design team in Anne, Chris, and Gillian. Anne made this. These buttons are all the designs from the Zorn-Knopf little button journal kit, but she's taken her own threads, done the beading, done all of the soutache work. I mean, that is a stunning piece of jewelry.
I went straight to
know,
that, didn't I?
everybody does. It is just so remarkable and so much work in it.
What
And
about
that's
this?
just as an example.
Yeah.
And then these are little ornaments. Just pop a little button on the end.
Cute.
And it's just, you know, little extras.
Absolutely.
And that I think is part of the thing. Anything where you want an embellishment, you can put a button on it. But when they're handcrafted buttons, I think that, you know, that's what makes the difference. You can put them on a card, you can make them into brooches, into earrings, into just about anything. It's not just about fastenings.
Right.
And it's not just about the boring plastic button.
Indeed it isn't. $14.99 for the kit, 550966. Then we've got a really nice big bundle.
Well, because we have brought the little button journals for a little while now, and we've got the new one, we thought that if anybody is just coming in, just joining in, they might want to sort of catch up.
Right.
So if they want to catch up, here's the previous little button journals kits, with the exception of the Christmas one, which that's only at Christmas.
Well, I would just point out you can buy these
Each
kits
of these individually as well.
absolutely.
So, you know, that's nice. If there's just one missing out of your set, I know that there's quite a few people who are building the whole set. And we're going to take a little rest from them with new ones.
Okay.
So it's a nice opportunity to sort of catch yourself up, get them now while you can. And this is the previous 4. So you've got Macclesfield and Leek, which is a wrapped button technique.
Okay.
Very, at its peak of popularity, probably in the 18th century.
Right.
Okay. Then you've got the Dorset button journal, which many people will have heard of, a Dorset button. And they're made on a ring. And again, as the name implies, it was a cottage industry in Dorset.
Right.
Then you've got the Zorn-Knopf buttons, which are also ring buttons. And
which means?
It literally means thread button.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in Germany, Austria, Northern Europe generally, it's a variation on the Dorset button. It's not the Dorset button. This is a bugbear with me.
Okay, right.
The technique is different to the Dorset button technique. A lot of people just call those Dorset buttons, but the technique is different. So. And then last but not least, Victorian buttons. It's a style of embroidery over the top of a button,
right.
Which was very, very popular during the Victorian era. And so it's a complete range of techniques, basically, and styles.
That's lovely. So if you do want to go for the bundle, maybe you've not seen this before, thinking, oh, what a lovely set of projects. This is the one to go for. You've got a £7 saving, £52.96. It's also on FlexiBuy, 2 payments of £26.48, 721.845. And as I said, they are available individually, just in case you've got 3 out of the 4, which is good.
Yeah, that's right. So you can catch it up.
Yeah.
Now, this is a different button style entirely.
Right.
And these buttons are made on a loom. So you've got little looms in a variety of sizes.
Okay.
They're very much like a Dorset button, but as I say, they're made on the loom and you take them off, which gives them a tactile ball. Like, you can put them over a hard button mold if you like, but they're really, really easy to do. Yorkshire button, the name, I can't actually place the button much before the 1980s.
Right.
It seems to have just sprung up. Someone somewhere came up with the clever idea of actually doing a Dorset button that wasn't on a ring and to make a ball-like shape out of the button. So these are really nice, particularly for knitwear, but they make nice little pom-poms and things like that as well.
Well, look at the earrings.
Yep,
they're
just
sweet.
lovely, aren't they?
Yeah, they're adorable. And this behind here, look, even a little wrap for your phone cable.
With just lots of little buttons on them.
That's just adorable. So you've got
your looms in 6 sizes. So these are reusable.
Right.
So you've got a little organza bag so that you can pop them in there, keep it.
Great.
You'll have a needle, usually stuck into the organza bag, so watch out for that. It's a tapestry needle, it's not going to cause you any problems. And 3 lengths of thread. You've also got instructions to do different types of patterns. Okay. So you may not be able to quite pick up, there's some slight variations with these buttons here that are shown with the texture, and you've got instructions for how to do those different types of textures.
That's great.
So, and as I say, that one is quite, because it's a reusable loom, that one we decided not to do in the journal kit, you see.
And it won an award.
Well, it was shortlisted. It was shortlisted.
It was shortlisted.
It was
right,
it didn't win,
okay.
but it was shortlisted. So,
same thing they're saying in my head. Shortlisted is good. Right.
Shortlisted is good, actually.
£13.49 if you're a Freedom member. Then 971 888. You can give us a call, or here's the website. Check out all those lovely, wonderful button kits. I love these. Let's have a look what else we've got. Ah, yes, we've got some tools on there. Circle gauge set. You've got 2 tools and 12 gauges. You've also got a nice little hand tool tin. I've had trouble with my teeth for the last 2 days. There we go. And then what else have we got? We've got the button acrylic templates. There's a manual. Oh, that's worth looking at. Ah, and Charlotte's just saying you really like that manual. Ah.
Over 100, I think it's over 111 different types of buttons in the handbook. So yeah, definitely if you decide that you like button making, definitely
that's the one.
Yeah, even if I do say so myself, it's got an awful lot of stuff in there.
Now, which one are you starting with?
Right, I'm going to start off with the needle pattern and show you how we get started with that. Okay, you've got even weave fabric, and in the instructions it takes you through how to actually decide where to start. Right. Okay, so the first is fabric template. So you'll cut out your piece of fabric to that size. Now, if you have our button templates, you can then use that to find the center. Okay. But if you haven't, and you don't have to have, the instructions tell you what you need to do, which is just the same as in cross stitch. Yeah. Fold in half, turn, and fold in half again. So that will give you your center. Now, you can start in the center just as you do with cross stitch, but the problem with that is is that you have to go up and then you'll have to come down.
Right.
And because this is running stitch, you'll find it much easier if you don't do that.
That's interesting, because again, that messes with my head because I do cross stitch. I'm like,
yeah, no, this is, you are totally going to get this.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
So basically what I recommend that you do is to count out. So count out 11 rows from the center. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, put a mark. And then from the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. And we're going to start in that corner.
Wow, right.
All right. And that's just because for the flow of work, it's easier.
Does it tell you the counting in that?
It does.
Wonderful.
Tells you the counting, tells you how to start, and then basically choose your pattern. All right. Now, some of the patterns may have, one of them does, a white space at that first corner. That basically you'll need to skip it.
Right, that makes sense.
So basically every black space on the pattern is a stitch.
Yeah, makes sense.
Just the same as cross stitch, really, or needle point, or any of the same. All right, but what we're going to do is, let me just, in a completely different color. Where did my end go? Because I lost my wrap. Now, I think I recommend about 1 meter.
Right.
And you have a needle.
That all comes in the kit.
In the kit.
Yeah.
And we're not separating the threads.
That was the first question I was going to ask. Are we doing that?
We're not separating the threads. If you want to start with a little knot, you can, because it's not going to show.
Right.
But you may wish to just start with a false start, which is you go in and then come back out. And the holes, are there for you. So you don't have to think too hard on this.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's perfect.
And just hold that there if you like. So let's say we're going to do that one. So basically we're going over 2, under 2, over 2, under 2.
Right.
And that's as simple as that. So we're going over 2, under 2, over 2, under 2, and we're going to keep it going for the pattern. Now you can carry on all the way through, but I find that if you do too many, you start to wrinkle up your
I'm the same as you.
piece, and it's, you know, I don't really want to wrinkle it up too much, not least because we're going to be making a button out of it. So
this is one of those lovely hobbies that you just really get calm, get into the zone.
Exactly. And because these are repeat patterns as well, it's not even like cross stitching that you're changing colors and so on. You can decide to put a color in the opposite side if you wish, or mix it up a little bit, but you don't have to. Now let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 6.
We are a quarter of the stock gone on this lovely button journal kit. It's gorgeous.
So I needn't have come up that side. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I did need that. I needed that 6. There we go. I can't count live on TV.
Oh, that's why I didn't speak for a second then. I was like, I'll interrupt.
There we go. So now we're just going to turn around, come up to the next row, and turn around and go back, because there's two rows on the pattern.
Yes.
All right.
Nice and easy.
And just repeat that.
Yeah. And actually this will come together, because it's a small piece, it'll come together nice and quickly.
Exactly. And it gives you an opportunity to practice as well with your stitching. And obviously you can use different types of threads, you know, other than what we're providing.
Oh, bit of metallic.
Bit of metallic. Pearl cotton works quite nicely as well because of the tight twist on it. That gives a different effect.
Yeah.
And so there's our first 2 rows complete.
Easy.
All right, so then the next one, this one is a really easy pattern because the next one you're just going in the gap in between. So you don't even have to count now.
Yeah, you don't have to think about it. So you can have the telly on and keep half an eye on that.
Exactly, and just keep doing. To be honest, with, well, I say with most. With many buttons, you can do that anyway, which is what I'm doing with my button a day challenge.
Oh, yes, do you want to talk about that?
I am currently doing a one button a day challenge. So every single day on social media, I am posting up a new handmade button. And the buttons are anything that I think of, any technique
Right.
that I think of, mixing all sorts of different things. And I have a 1 button a day blog,
Right.
which I, tell about the button, how I've done it. I don't give patterns, not
That's fair
yet.
enough.
But, I'll say, oh, I've used silk thread, or I've done this technique, or something like that. Or even if it's just the size and the threads that I've used, so that you can get a sort of idea. And so I did it originally in 2016, which was a leap year. And so the thing was, are you going to do it again? So
In the
leap year again, I'm doing it again.
So are there more than 365 different types
I just make them up.
Okay.
All different types. So basically mixing techniques.
Right.
Some will be historic buttons, some will be, I've just thought the top of my head. That's today's button, for instance. And that's using the ruching technique that's on at the 7 o'clock show this evening. So
that is lovely, that.
just different buttons.
I'd like that.
Whatever happens.
I like that style as a hat. I would. I think it's super cool. Look at that. I love, and the little beads on it as
Yeah,
well.
so it's just every day a different button for the year. So, do follow along, please. It'd be nice. So, we've got that. Quick change when you've completed the whole thing. All right? Now, I'll get some more thread just so that I can show you what I'm doing on this. I'll cut this one slightly thinner. Now, you can use sewing thread if you prefer, or you can use the thread that we include. I would recommend that you separate it though. Use, say, 2 or 3 strands. So the best way to separate any embroidery thread, if you don't know, is to take one in your dominant hand, one in your recessive hand, and just hold and pull one thread out at a time. It is actually the best way to do it, and then you spread out.
Lovely.
You don't tend to get as much of a tangle then if you do them individually. So I'm going to use 2. You can use 2, you can use 3, you can use all 6 if you like. It doesn't matter.
Does it tell you 2 in the...
Yes, yeah, it goes through. But again, if you prefer sewing thread and you want to keep your nice thread, go ahead and use any other sewing thread for the back. This is just literally to gather it up and cover the button.
Lovely.
Okay.
So little knot there as well.
Little knot, just because I like them. A lot of people hate knots, but I like a bit of security there. But what I would say is you want to do at least 1 back stitch, okay? And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to do a running stitch. Make sure it's strong, it's holding.
Right.
And then you're just going to do a running stitch. You don't have to count. You don't have to sort of worry too much. You're going all of the way around.
With 30% of the stock gone now on this button journal kit. It's really popular. I think it's because you can see what a nice little set of mini projects you'll be able to do, how portable it is, and just how calming it is.
Definitely portable. As I say, I think that's one of the things that I like about button making, is because really, and I think this is what gets button collectors as well actually, is because anything can be scaled down. Any technique ever can be scaled down to make buttons. So you think that's why you have metal buttons or you have wooden buttons and everything, because the makers are just scaling it down to make one little work of art. And I think that's one of the nice things about it. So then you gather around, all right? And we're just going to gather that so that we're drawing it up to make a little pouch shape. Okay.
That's a little hat for a doll.
Yeah, it does look a little like a seaside hanky thing.
Yeah.
And then we're going to pop the button mold, which again is in the kit, inside. All right. And then pull it as tight as it will go.
Yep.
Now there's a bit of bulk there, and so that you don't really want that. So what I like to do then is first I'll go around a second time.
Okay, holding it in place.
Holding it in and pulling, which will get rid of some of this bulk around the edge because it will close it in a little bit.
Lovely.
All right.
I'm interested about that little tail, where that gets, you know, has that been buried into it?
Yes, it's just, it doesn't matter, it's on the back. So, you know, it's not, there's lots of different ways that you can finish the backs of your buttons. I'm going to show you one late in the next sort of bit.
Yeah.
So it's nearly there.
That's so cute.
But there's still a few little lumps and bumps around the edge, okay?
Yeah.
So now if you go through the lump, up and pull down.
Right.
Okay. And then you're coming back to the other side through the lump and pull. And so you're working around in a sort of spiral motion.
Yeah.
All right. And then what that is doing is that will smooth the edges.
Yeah, it's good.
Tighten up the button, and it will also, these threads are encasing the raw edges of the fabric as well. So that's stopping that from becoming messy as well. And you can really sort of work these even with thick fabrics. You can work it, but that's why you want to make sure that you're not just using a single strand of the embroidery floss, because embroidery floss isn't as strong as sewing cotton.
Right.
So if you decide to change and use something else, use something strong so that you can really get in there. And then
look at how neat that's starting to look. And
you could continue and cover the whole thing just with stitches like that to completely encase the back, which is a thread. It's referred to as a thread back on buttons. So I'm just going to do a little knot, and then I'm going to take the needle through, and I'm going to pull that quite tight
and then it
and
goes
trim
back
it,
in.
and then it goes back in, and then one button.
Adorable! Look at that.
All finished. And so that's it. Technically, you can use that. Just stitch it onto the back. You can do a little loop if you want to, but you know, just stitch it straight on to whatever you want to use.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, Gina. I'll go and do a few numbers and then come back.
And then I'll show you what we can do with it.
That sounds good. Now you can shop by brand, so have a look for Gina-B Silkworks. Traditional crafts for the modern maker. Oh, I like that. That's really nice. You can see all the different kits that we've still currently got available. If you have got any questions for Gina, we've still got half an hour. Please feel free to send them in, or pictures, of course. Maybe you've had some of the previous kits. Where have you put the buttons? Have you put the buttons on clothes? Have you made earrings with your buttons? Whatever techniques you've been doing. We always love to have a look at what you've been making at home. See, all of those different kits as well. Create a frame. So it's not all about buttons, by the way. Gina brings us other items. There's a nice 5-star review on that little kit. Lovely. Right, so this is a new today. It is your needle pattern button journal kit, and 40% of the stock has gone. So you get that lovely oldie worldy material. You're getting the threads. You've got your Aida, however you pronounce it, the needle. You've got the buttons, flat buttons, and you've got full instructions. And it's going to help you make this little journal. Lots of running stitch around, and then you've got different patterns on the buttons. I like that it's even got needle pattern. And if I open it up, I really like the material in terms of its, not tie-dye effect, I'm trying to think. But it's just got, it's almost like water stained, but it isn't. I really like that. It's different, isn't it? And then you've got, look, the needle excellency. It's like got quotes and things. Have a look at these different types of patterns on the buttons. You've got a little picture there. Isn't it lovely? Look at all of that. It's such a nice, and it's like one of those things that you want to treasure. It looks so delicate, doesn't it? Gorgeous. This kit then, $14.99, such a portable hobby. Something a bit different, because maybe you've never made buttons like this before and you're looking for something new. $14.99, 313445, but 40% of the stock has gone. Do check out, because you might be going out later and Gina is back on at 7 o'clock, which of course then it might sell out. Right, then we have got, this is called like a buttons sundries pack. And you'll get your actual MDF buttons there. Then you've got some of the rings. There you go. And then you've got, I really like them. They're like safety pins, but you can pop the buttons onto them. Can you see that little loop? Oh, hang on, there you go. Lovely. More of the little rings. And then here you've got your thicker weight material. Again, it's got the holes in. And you've also got 5 skeins of thread. So that is your actual pack, but have a look at the sort of gorgeous things you can be making. There's a tissue holder with a button on. How sweet is that? I really like the style of that button actually. I like the pattern on that. That's really pretty. Button on a jar. Then, yay, let's come up to this canvas, isn't it lovely? And this is a work of art. So even making jewellery out of buttons. Good, isn't it? For your button sundry pack then, £14.99, 550966. Right, we've got a journal bundle next for you. I love the colours in each of the journals. You can buy these individually. Maybe you're just missing one of the set, but if you are completely new and haven't seen this before, this is a great pack to get going. First off then, we've got our Macclesfield and Leek, and this one has a nice sort of beigey tone, or no, I'm going to say tea-stained. And then you've got your skeins of thread, 3 of those, the needle, the buttons, but this is the lovely, this is just an example because they're all different actually, what you can be making with that button in there. Oh, adding a little bit of embroidery inside. Look at all these fantastic buttons. Who knew? I did not know you could make so many patterns on buttons. Bit of a patriotic button, like it. Whoa, look at that. Gorgeous. Then you've got the Dorset button. Now here are the pinks. Of course, you know I'm going to love the pinks. So again, you get that material. These are the lovely colours. You're getting the rings in here. Different techniques in each one. So these, you can see, they've been sort of sewn around those rings that are in here. Look at that. That one's like a little steering wheel. Look at all the different techniques. Do you know what? I could totally get into this. I really could. Then we've got another one, which is I can't say it, so you can just look at the title. This one is your sort of blue fabric. It's like an Oxford blue, I would say. And then you've got your skeins of thread, bigger rings. And then let's see what we do with this. Ah, right. So that's a smaller one there, but if we go inside, look at that. It's very ornate, isn't it? They sort of remind me of patterns that you would do on spirographs. Tell me, voices in my head, you know what that is? Oh, thank goodness. Oh, thank goodness. Charlotte. I don't think Charlotte does. Other brands of kids' toys available. And then last but not least, that really tickled Gina then. And then you've got your Victoria button kit. They're all chatting about what I just said now. Look at these that you can make. That's again really ornate. Oh, wow. And have a look here. This is like a star shape on it. This is nice because you can, of course, pad them. This one's been padded, a little bit of wadding inside. So cool. Yes, of course, you don't have to do the techniques on the button. You can just sew them straight away. Marvellous. All of those for £52.96. You've got it's an introductory price because you've got £7 off, and it's on FlexiBuy, 2 payments of £26.48, 721845. And then we've got our Yorkshire button. Now this one is slightly different because it's got the, what were they called again? Templates. Thank you, Gina. When a word goes out of your head. This has got the templates. You've got the skeins of thread. You've got the organza bag so you can put your templates in, the needle and full instructions. But now you're making really interesting 3D, well, obviously the other ones are 3D as well, but they're really like covered in fabric. So I would say these are great for knitwear, but then you can also make really cute little earrings. This makes me smile because that's totally different. People would go, where'd you buy that from? I made it. We've got a little necklace here. It's cute, isn't it? We're 40% of the stock gone. It's only £13.49 if you're a Freedom member. 971 888. Oh, lovely. I love it when people send pictures. Oh, Margaret, thank you so much. Now,
I've seen this one.
Oh,
yes,
have
in
you?
one of my groups. Yes.
oh,
Isn't it gorgeous?
It's amazing. So this is from one of your books, is it?
No, this is this lovely lady is in my Facebook group.
Right.
Gina-B
okay.
Silkworks and she shared this picture, and it's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, the amount of work in it is absolutely beautiful, and all those lovely handmade buttons.
It's stunning. Thank you so much. I love it. I mean, yes, there's all sorts of different techniques going on there. It is gorgeous. That's a thing to be treasured, isn't it?
It is, definitely. But it shows you, you see, the thing is so many of us, I think there's actually been a study into it, are drawn to circular forms. And so creating buttons gives us those circular forms again and again and again, which is possibly why buttons are so highly collected. I mean, everybody keeps buttons, don't they?
My mum's got a big button box.
Who doesn't? I'd like to know somebody who doesn't actually, you know, you throw something away, you cut the buttons. If not, if only all of the spare buttons that you get with the clothes that you buy.
Yeah, true. So that, I think that was from Margaret. Was that right? Yes, thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.
Yep, again, keep your pictures coming in. Still got time to show.
First thing that I wanted to quickly show before I go on to the next demo was how those button pins work.
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, so your fabric, your garment, the back of it, pop the button, the pin up through. Then through the shank of your button, or the back of your button on these fabric ones, and then back down through your fabric. Okay, you can then close it up. But then when you spin that pin around to that lump then becomes the shank. Let me show you.
No, that's
on
great.
On the button. So that then is nice and secure. You can use that as a button, but you can also remove it
I
just
really
simply
like those
by
pins.
undoing those pins. Okay, so they're really, really handy, those pins.
You get them in the button bundle that's on the screen
That's
now.
right, and our third hand and tool tin also includes a few of them in there as well.
Oh,
so
Charlotte's just gone, oh, I love this tin. Can we see it then?
The tool tin is really handy because
you've
it's got
there.
a clip.
Okay.
Okay, so that when you are working, you can hold your button there.
That's
so when you
clever.
want two hands to do some of the ring buttons in particular, and you want to do a little bit of extra embroidery on the ring buttons, it's there holding it. When you're doing the wrapped buttons and you want to change, you know, somebody phones, you can also clip it in there. So it's very, very handy. And then you can obviously carry all your stuff.
Yeah, all your stuff.
Because
it's $12.99.
it's back to what we were saying, button making is very portable. So, I mean, that is why mine's a little bit dented and battered, but I use it. It goes with me. Okay, so what I thought I would show
was silk.
Yes, that's
nice.
silk. How to do a paperclip button.
Oh, what a clever idea.
Okay, so it's a bookmark or whatever else you want to use, you know, clip it onto. If you're going to do this, the easiest thing to do is to use the button mold before you start, because that's the size that we're looking at, all right? So whatever button mold you're using. First thing is you need something hard. This is using the heavy interfacing that's in the sundries kit.
Right.
All right. You could use cardboard if you wanted to for this particular purpose, because obviously it's not clothing button. So you just trace around and then cut out your circle.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I tend to not use my embroidery scissors on these heavy duty.
Will they blunt them?
I think they will. And my embroidery scissors are really nice, and I don't want them blunted. So, so I tend to just use sort of craft scissors when I'm cutting this heavy duty stuff. It's more like cardboard to me. It's, you know, my brain can't handle pretty scissors being used on that. Then we need our backing fabric. Right. Okay, because that's what we're going to do. A nice, tidy, in fact, if I do that, be easier for the cameras. A nice smooth back that's going to hide the workings there. Yeah. Okay. So this, we're just making it up. Just so long as it's big enough to go around your button. It's not vital. But if you want to be, you can use the button templates that we have.
Oh.
Okay. And you sort of measure up and you say, okay, that one looks like that's going to be the good size for me to use. And then you get a nice proper circle.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's entirely up to you, you know, how accurate you want to be. This is really good when you want accuracy, you want to have your nice circles.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just round. It's nice you've chosen silk.
It makes a nice shine. I keep all scraps of these little bits of fabric. I'm terrible.
A question I want to ask you is,
Yes.
Is there any sort of button society?
There is a British Button Society, which is button collectors. Yes.
Wow.
Are
you a member?
I am.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And everybody collects different sorts of buttons. You know, it very much depends on. There's some people who collect fabric and embroidered and crocheted. Oh, and then of course the wood and the military buttons. Oh, that's a whole genre on its own.
Right.
Military buttons. We need a big paper clip.
Okay.
Okay, and you want to make sure that you have your double loops down.
Yeah.
All right, and we're just going to stitch this. And it doesn't really matter what you use, which is why I'm using some of the embroidery floss, to the back of your button.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously, the more stitches that you do here, the more secure this is going to be.
Absolutely. What a good idea. I wouldn't even think about a button on a, you know.
Well, again, it's another way to use it, but it's
Yeah.
great with journaling because we have all these different clips and bookmarks
Yeah.
and everything with journaling. And so, which is my new thing at the minute. Yeah, I love it. Funny, my years of making sketchbooks suddenly have this fancy name.
Oh, I see.
So it's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice incorporating some of the extra things in it.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
I'll just cut that off.
Okay.
All right, so that's secure. All right, now we're going to do the same basic thing with this as we did with covering that one. But
Right.
I'm going to use sewing thread because I'm using this silk. I should have really cut this a little bit larger for the silk. This might ravel. I might need to
Recut one.
yeah, just because
That's all right.
silk is usually needs a larger piece than my cotton piece. But we'll see.
Okay. So a little running stitch all the way around.
A little running stitch all of the way around.
Okay.
I'm using sewing thread, and I have doubled the sewing thread, which
Right.
is why it's tangled a little bit.
Shall we, just while you're doing that,
Yeah.
have a look at some of these? What do you think? Because they're wonderful. I know, am I going to be here? I might mess that up.
That is a lovely exploding
Yeah.
box with all
wow.
examples of buttons
Isn't that cool?
are primarily thread wrapped buttons.
Yeah.
And created. Some of them are in the Passementary manual. Some of them are from the button journal kit. So a nice mix of different types of thread wrapped buttons. It's just fantastic, isn't it?
Oh, it's
Just
wonderful,
Lovely
'cause
exploding.
Such a
And then things like the purse, the little bag.
yeah.
You know, a bit of embellishment on the bag.
Absolutely.
Exactly. As I was saying, you almost need to think of them as little gemstones,
Oh yeah, that's
because
nice
then
idea.
you know what you're using them for. Sort of everything and anything.
Yeah. I'm glad we looked at that because they're just so amazing, aren't they? Yeah.
I say I'm very, very lucky with my design team. They're an excellent group of girls, and they come up with some really, really clever things, despite being bogged down with real life most of the time, like the
Yeah,
rest of us. They still come up
absolutely.
with some wonderful things for me.
Oh, that's good. And where will we find you, sort of your blog and everything?
Well, the One Button a Day blog is onebuttonaday.co.uk,
Oh, right, okay.
and that's specifically for that. But I'm on Facebook and social media, Gina-B Silkworks.
Yep.
and that includes, we've got on Facebook a Gina-B Silkworks group, which is really for you to share pictures of your makes with any of our stuff. And we've got some fantastic things that people share on there. You know, there's such a nice little community building now. It's quite a new group, but we've got a nice community building.
Good.
So, and of course you can ask questions there too, which is always a big help. So, I have covered my bit of interfacing. So I now basically have a little flat, almost a button. It's obviously not strong enough to be a button. And we're going to connect them. So I've taken a new length of sewing thread, and I have knotted, and I'm just going to put that through. And now we're going to pick up a little stitch back and forth.
Sort of slightly underneath, isn't it?
Yes, I think sometimes it's referred to as a ladder stitch.
Right.
Okay. I have seen them referred to as many different things, but I tend to call it a ladder stitch. Oops. And this you can also do if you want to put a fancy cover on any of your buttons.
Yeah. Use
this method, because this will then give you something nice if you're doing a brooch, or if you're doing a set of buttons that you want to sell, for instance. You want the backs to all be nice and tidy, don't you? You don't want them to be sort of looking messy or anything like that.
Take pride in the work.
Exactly. So it's nice to be able to finish them off, and there's so many different ways, but this is a nice way to finish off, putting a false back on. Covers everything up.
And just while you're going around there, another kit that's been really popular is the Yorkshire button kit.
Yorkshire button kit's always popular.
Really?
They're great fun to do. Really very, very simple. And they do lend themselves to wools as well, very nicely, to thicker threads, which some of the buttons may lose some clarity, but they look really nice with thicker threads, which is why I think so many knitters and crocheters like doing the Yorkshire buttons.
So this is the sort of thing that you can be doing. Look at that. They're really nice because they're tactile.
They're very tactile.
Yeah.
Squishy.
Yeah, squishy. I like that. So you get in the kit, you've got your little templates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 templates that go down in size. I really want to, I'd like to use these as mixed media as well as some cogs. You get the needle, you get your 3 skeins. Oh, this one's, is it variegated?
It's variegated, yeah. We try to, I mean, with all of the kits, the thread colours might vary from what you're looking at, but we try to match them up so that they're relevant to, for instance, with the journal kits, that they're a close, you know, they don't clash with the journal fabric itself. And with that, we try to include a variegated. We say that the colors may vary simply in case our supplier doesn't have the one we want on the day. So I've made a little knot.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to take my needle through again in the same way as before, away from that knot.
Sure.
And pull it quite tight. And then it's all done. Make your little
Here's another one.
Paperclip.
That is so sweet.
All finished and sorted, a little paperclip, and it's all neat and tidy at the back. So I mean, you know, if you're doing craft fairs and things, that is a great way to make a lot of little extras with your buttons.
Well, they look so professional.
Well, yeah, that's it. Nice little gift, isn't it? Okay, so where do we want to?
Charlotte's saying we've got 8 minutes.
8 minutes?
Can you show us something from the Yorkshire?
Yeah, definitely.
Is that all right, Charlotte? Excellent.
Excellent. Right, so 1. And shall we go with the orange again? It shows up nice on TV, doesn't it?
Remember, half the stock's gone now? It's going to be fun to see this. Oh, is it over? Over half the stock?
Okay, this one is a really nice kit to do.
Okay.
So, let me just thread my needle so that I don't have to worry. The end of your thread, through the hole. And then you come up and around. You mustn't do this too tightly. If you do this section too tightly, you'll end up getting it stuck on the loom. Okay? And so you don't come straight down. You go one over, all right? And you wrap, so, around, and then you skip one. And wrap around, skip one.
Kind of like a pom-pom but in button form.
Kind of. And now we're going to go back. And we're going to fill in the gaps that we...
I'm mesmerised by this.
Okay.
It's cool.
And as I say, you don't do it too tightly. Trying to not do it too tightly, but also keep my fingers out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing. Back up to the center.
Right.
All right. Now, I'm going to go under, and then I'm going to do a rounding back stitch.
Okay.
So I'm going to go under and then back, okay? And then, so under again, and then to the next set of spokes.
Okay.
Okay. And again.
I like watching it transform.
And we're just going to keep doing this around and around and around.
Yeah.
And then you'll work out. And this is on its most basic form, this is what you will do. So if you know like a spider's web stitch in embroidery,
right,
that's basically what you're doing on this one.
Okay, cool.
Now once you've got it secure all of the way around, the other thing that you can do, oops, we've gone one extra there. Every once in a while, as your thread starts to get a bit twisted,
okay,
just hold it up and let
good idea.
let it spin out, so you can see it spinning out. Okay, and so let's see how quickly I can do this so that I can show you it finished, which I probably won't be able to do it very quickly.
Oh, that's all right. It's so nice seeing it grow. We were just saying, actually, we're all mesmerised. Like, I have to remember to say a few things, you know.
I've gone through this thread there. Let me just take that out.
Very easy to unpick, obviously.
Yep, absolutely. So if you do catch your threads, not go underneath them, just remove your needle and pull it back. Don't try to sew it back because you'll just catch more threads on your way back. It's not worth it.
60% of the stock now. You're liking this.
This really is a nice, relaxing, you know, doing these basic ones that don't have a lot of patterning is, you're not even thinking about it really.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're working around. Oh, and you mentioned my show this evening. I'm actually on with ribbon work this evening, not buttons.
Oh, I didn't realise.
So,
apologies.
yeah, a little bit different.
So ribbon work.
Ribbon work, yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm going to be hypnotised by that one as well.
Yeah, it's really, really easy to make flowers.
Okay.
Basically, with this evening's things.
Right.
Right, I lost my needle.
Oh. That's it. Easy again to thread. But look how it's coming together.
Now, if you want to change colour at this point, you can. Basically, you just leave this hanging and put the next one through with the upright.
But how do you tie it off, though?
You just weave it through.
Oh, okay.
Weave it underneath. For instance, this
I
won't
see.
fill the whole thing that we're doing.
Right.
And in actual fact, because of what I'm doing, this can be one of two ways. This can either be with the ribs out, or it can be smooth when we take it off. How much time have we got?
We've got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Don't worry if you
What
don't finish.
I
It's
will
just lovely
do,
to see.
I'll show you how to take it off now. So I've just put that under to hold the thread so it doesn't come apart when I'm taking it off. But normally what you would do is you would work all the way around as close to the edge as you can, because that will give you your larger button.
Okay.
Okay, and then you pop the loops off.
I see why you said don't do it
Don't do it too tightly, because then they won't pop off. And if they don't pop off, you can't do the next stage. Okay, once you've gotten a few off, you can see that they will then
It's like a little flower.
So it's like a little flower, which you can use it as a flower on its own like that. That's that. I've pulled one of them slightly long, but that's all right. So now I'm going to take another length. If you have left over, how I normally do it is I'll have a really long length that I'm doing the weaving with, and then I'll be using the same thread for this section. Yeah. Okay. So, but because I'm not, just to show you that it doesn't matter. Now you can use either side, but usually the side that's facing down is the side that is your good side. Right. Okay. So we're just going to go through and then through the loops. Okay. All right. Ignore that at the moment. I should have taken that back through. The starting thread, this one in the middle, what you should do is take it down. Yeah. All right. But just for the purposes of being quick. So I'm going in and out through these loops. Right. Lovely. And then I'm going to draw those loops up tight. Okay. Oh. And then you can stuff that to make the button. How cute is that? So even at that, with the really long ones, you can see that you can make a little button. That's adorable, so cute. Yeah. And then you can be making things once you've got that technique, like these little earrings. Look at those, aren't they adorable? And that's why it's so nice, because just put a little bit of stuffing in there, you know, a little cotton wool or some more scraps of thread. Let's face it, all of us who work with thread, we usually have piles of it. Absolutely. Oh, it's just lovely. Yeah, really easy. Gina. So if you do want to go for the kit, your Yorkshire kit, you get your templates, you get your skeins of thread, the little chiffon bag. Yes, organza, couldn't think of the word. It's $14.99, but it does have a freedom discount as well, 971888, and it's $13.49 if you're a freedom member. I've really enjoyed that. Oh, good, thank you. So bye. Please make sure you're joining Gina at 7 o'clock this evening.